Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. So I want to just kind of, I've been following the Kavanaugh saga, pretty closely, both on talk radio, online, and in the news, in the mainstream media, and gathered a fair amount of information, and I'm not really here. I'm just here to discuss it. Yeah, I'm not necessarily. I mean, I do think that things have gotten completely absurd, to the point where it's almost like a Salem witch trial type of atmosphere on this whole Me Too situation. And it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous where one person can make accusations and literally nobody else can challenge that, at all. I mean, I saw on GMA this morning, it was just hilarious. There was a Republican strategist who had worked with Kavanaugh in the Bush White House, I think for 4 years. She spoke very highly of him, naturally. But at the end of and by the way, I think at the end of this, I do think there's been moments where I was concerned. I mean, like concerned that this is getting derailed again. I think he's going to be confirmed at the end of this. I do. But I'll just give you a lot of different thoughts on it. Lots of different. But the Republican strategist, I don't know her name. She was a female, and she was on GMA this morning. Towards the end of her appearance, she said, I think he's being falsely accused. And one of the male hosts, the guy who's on there regularly on GMA, I forget his name, he sits on the right. He said she's going to get some blowback for saying that, and I was just like, and I agree. I mean, I was like, wow, she actually said it. But that's where we've gotten to, where you can't even say somebody's being falsely accused. I guess the social norm now is the only person who could say he's being falsely accused is him. And apparently maybe not even that. It's absurd. And it's very dangerous when one person, because they fit a certain criteria, a certain criteria of victimhood, that they can't be challenged whatsoever. It's a problem. If you want to watch a really good movie, the Crucible, about the Salem witch trials, awesome movie with Daniel Day-Lewis and Winona Ryder. She's great in it too. So. Hopefully my audio wasn't messed up there, but I'm a big movie buff. So let's just go through a couple things. I mean, some of this stuff, I don't know how significant it is, but I wonder why there's so many different things. Let me start with Jeff Flake. I didn't really pick up on this until, and this person was on GMA as well. One of the two women that said she was a survivor of sexual assault and cornered Jeff Flake in the elevator. And, everyone's saying that that's kind of what got him to change his position and to meet this compromise with Coons, I forget the senator's first name. Oh, man. There it is. But, I heard Mark Levin talking about this because everyone thinks that Jeff Flake is just like, really, a good guy, and that he's this person of ethics and morals, and he was saying that's not the case, and that this really might have been just even though it seemed like perfectly staged, she's an activist, this woman, okay, and I'm not expecting him to recognize that, but I'm expecting him to recognize the fact that activists exist, and his whole demeanor in that entire situation, I don't know. It just seemed a little bit contrived to me, and that Mark Levin was suggesting that this might just be because he's retiring, in November, and this is his swan song because he hates Trump so much, and this is just his big middle finger on his way out the door to Trump, and this is him, meeting with Coons,
clarified and corrected. Again, as I said yesterday, I think that needs to be clarified and corrected.
So, and as a result of that, and he met with Feinstein and other Democrats, they're going to, he voted yes to move it out of committee and to the floor, but he basically said, I'm not prepared to vote yes on the floor until, if we could just have an investigation. And they're going to, and Trump went along. I mean, it's just a political situation. What I'm saying to you is, I just don't know that this was is exactly as it appeared. I mean, this woman is not, she is an activist, okay? I mean, on her Twitter page, that's her career. So I don't know. You like if you've been in politics, you've been a senator for 6 years, you were a congressman before that. You're not aware of the fact that you're being cornered by somebody who's a political activist. I don't know. I'm not sure I buy it. So. But whatever, fine. It's going to be investigated. I really do think, and Mark Judge reportedly is going to cooperate. He's willing to talk to investigators from the FBI naturally, and I'm assuming they're going to want to talk to everybody that was reportedly there, which is PJ. I forget his first name, and Leland Kaiser, which I was a little stunned to learn that, and I don't know that it's anything significant. I don't necessarily think it is. I don't think there's some kind of political angle to this. I don't. But what I did find odd, and I think maybe it's just professional courtesy, maybe, is why it was very lightly reported. And it's in the Weekly Standard. I see it in a couple places. I found it here, but I was morbidly curious about Leland Kaiser, mostly because of her health issues that were brought up by Christine Blasey Ford, which I thought, and other people have commented, I think on Twitter and other places, like, wow, she really just threw her right under the bus, just kind of saying that she's got health issues. Christine Blasey Ford was using that to explain why she was sort of withdrawing from the situation and had had her attorneys put forth a written statement, sworn under whatever, penalty of perjury, that she doesn't recall being at this party, and she's not even sure she knows Brett Kavanaugh. So, but she mentioned that the reason she's doing that is because she's got major health issues, and she's having her attorneys handle this for her, and she does have major health issues. I think she's, I don't know specifically what her health issues are, and they go back years, But I think she's in a state, and she's the same age as they are, as I think she's 51, 52 in that area, but her present husband is her caretaker, is taking care of her. So, and I think that's a big part of his life is caring for her, so she's not well. And I have no idea what her health issues are, but I just thought it was odd that she put that out there, but again, she's using that to explain why she's sort of withdrawing for the process. So she's using it sort of, to explain that, to justify that, and I guess, but because they're not allowing, her attorneys are not allowing her medical records, her records that with her therapist, the notes, to be released to the committee, and they were citing health privacy issues. So the fact that was brought up, I thought was just, pretty quickly, almost immediately, once Leland Kaiser's name was, brought into the questioning by the prosecutor. I thought that was odd, So I ended up looking her up, and then when I did, and right in Google, I didn't even look up the health issues, but right in Google, it's already there. When you type in her name, somebody else is looking it up too, and you come across this story from heavy.com about her, and but other places have reported on it too. The Weekly Standard did, even just briefly. I don't know if I have that linked in here or not. I'm fairly certain I do. Believe me, the Weekly Standard did cover it, but just for a second, that she used to be married to Bob Beckel, okay? And Bob Beckel, I think everybody who follows politics knows Bob Beckel. I like Bob Beckel, even though he's a Democrat. I think he worked on the Jimmy Carter campaign. He's a lifelong, political strategist, and he was on Fox. He was one of the original members of the Five. He left there under terms because of, he's just the kind of guy who speaks his mind and says things that are impolitically correct and things like that. He wrote a book, actually, and I think this heavy.com piece takes from that, and it describes how he met his wife, his first wife. I don't know if he's remarried or not. I don't think he has. And his first wife is Leland Kaiser. Her maiden name is Leland Ingham. And that's, I don't really need to go into much more about that, but I just found that strange. I did. And I don't know if we're going to hear more about that, or if there's anything really. I don't know. I don't know how well. Supposedly they're lifelong friends, Leland Kaiser and Christine Blasey Ford. I don't know if she was friends with her when they were married, and if it was, I don't know. I don't know if that. It's very possible she wasn't aware that they were married, and that has nothing to do with anything. And I'm really not suggesting a political implication here. What I'm suggesting is I find it odd that it's just not being brought up. And what I think is even by like the people that hate Bush, so I don't know. We'll see if that becomes an issue. But I assume she's going to be talking to the federal investigators, FBI as well. But I think they're going to have to go to her. I think her medical condition is such that it's it's not easy for her to make appearances, whatever. I don't know that for a fact. It's just the gist I got. Anyways, let me continue. All right. The other thing I wanted to mostly talk about was her testimony, and I'm not trying to pick it apart or anything like that. I found what I believe is going on here is a little bit, and it's just my opinion. I believe there was they requested that Brett Kavanaugh go first, which is absurd. Everyone said it's absurd. It's not just in the American legal system. It's in any kind of legal system that's since the beginning of civilization, that you've always had the accuser go first and then the accused respond to the accusations. And obviously, to do it the other way around gives the accuser such an advantage because they can basically shape the story around what the accused is saying, and which is why they wanted him to go first. But, before this testimony, he did release the calendar, which everyone made fun of. And, and it's his calendar that if you don't know about it, you probably do. He kept a calendar in his room. It wasn't in his kitchen. It was his particular calendar that he kept. And he explained in his testimony that his father did the same thing. It was almost served as his diary. And actually, he said his father, and I believed him, his father used to pull out his own calendar at Christmas and sort of recall all the different things that had happened that year. And it was a way to just, think back on all the times that their family had together and the memories they shared together and so forth. And that's why he kept the calendar the way he did. But what I'm basically saying is that it seemed like the testimony and what is being released to the Judiciary Committee, it seems as though they were using the information in the calendar as a guide and shaping their story a little bit around that. That's how it appears to me. It's awfully convenient, and that people have already made note of the fact. If you look at and I'm not going through the timeline because I'm not an investigator. I'm just here to talk about these things. This is the letter. This is the letter that was provided to Senator Feinstein, and apparently it was. It says right on here, July 30th, and a couple things about this that struck me, and I'm not going to go through the discrepancies that everyone else is going through. That basically, well, I guess I'm going to mention a couple of them. Is that she says here included me and 4 others, and that was actually reported in the Washington Post. Okay, which is when she was out there on vacation. She met with the Washington Post reporter, I believe, and she gave that same story, even though the the lie detector story that she wrote down, I think, before taking the lie detector during the I'm not absolutely certain. It was a lengthy process that she described in testimony, but the lie detector, and as I understand it, this is the way lie detector tests go, polygraphs go, is you don't ask a ton of questions, supposedly, and I don't know. And we have to keep in mind that, this lie detector person, the person who's performing it, no matter what position you have on it, he's just one person. He's another human being, and you can't have the entire fate of the nation resting on one person's opinion, on what she said. No matter what you think about lie detectors. But reportedly, he just asked her 2 questions during the lie detector test, and basically, I think the 2 questions were, after interviewing her first, and you do a preliminary interview before you actually, before you actually conduct the lie detector test. And I think he did the interview. Then he had her hand write out this note, and then he asked her 2 questions: Is there anything false in this note or something like that? And she answered no, and that, according to his test, that was truthfully. And did you make anything up in this note? And according to his test, that was truthfully. But he had interviewed her before even hooking her up to the machine, and supposedly that's standard. But again, believe me, You know, and he's even said, which I find a little bit objectionable. I really do, that he doesn't think she's mistaken, because now he's stepping outside of his realm as a polygraph tester, and he's actually giving his opinion on the situation, which is, you know, I don't know about that, dude. I'd say, but the couple things so in this, she says it's 4 boys and a couple of girls, so that's 7 people, all right. And but in the typed up letter to Dianne Feinstein, it's me and 4 others. Okay, and we don't know the sex of the 4 others. You know, 2 of them are Brett Kavanaugh and Mark Judge. So, but that's 5 versus 7. I mean, that's not the end of the world. But part of the two things, the 2 questions I have is, you know, points I have. One is this actually meets, because this has been coming up, is this calendar entry, okay, which was brought up by Sheldon Whitehouse, the senator from Rhode Island, and he broke this down, and they're zeroing in on this. This might be the day of the so-called party, which incidentally, in testimony, she now says that, you know, she thinks there was going to be a party later that night too. Because on this entry, you know, it says, you know, Tobin's house, workout, and also then go to Timmy's for skis, which is brewskis, beers, with Judge, Tom, PJ, Bernie, and Squee. And Squee's the nickname for somebody else. I don't know who that. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Timmy's is 6, plus 2 other girls, 7, 8, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying to you is that this story seemed to match this calendar entry, okay? But we didn't get this version until this calendar entry was out there and they had seen it, okay? So, I mean, this is almost like, you know, the accused going before the accuser and using that information to selectively release. You know, it's very convenient to have, you know, multiple versions of your story, because you can put, you know, as the information comes in, as the testimony comes in, you can put out the story if it matches up with what's being testified. And that's just, you know, it's almost like ad lib, you know, like not ab, but those old little funny books, like, you know, choose 1 to go this way and choose 2 to go this way. And, you know, you have multiple versions that are ready-made, and if the story comes out this way, you can release this one. If the story comes out this way, you can release the other one, you know? So, yeah, and that's not exactly the situation here, but I think I'm making my point. I think you understand what I'm saying. And the other thing is that if she's being truthful here, when she answered that question, would she have answered that, you know, if she had been asked that same question, those same 2 questions by that lie detector person conducting that lie detector test, when she wrote this letter, would she have answered them truthfully then? You know, because this is drastically different, you know, than, and there's no mention of 2 other girls, by the way, and 2 other girls. Do you understand? I mean, I think that's also a very valid question, that if the lie detector test person had asked her that same question about this letter, which she, you know, wrote with the Congresswoman Issue, would she have answered that honestly? Because this is much different, you know, enough different that I don't know if she would. You know, there's other discrepancies in there too as well, but I think I made my point. The other thing I did that I found odd was I didn't realize. She says, I am available to speak further should you wish to discuss. I am currently vacationing in the mid-Atlantic until August 7th and will be in California after August 10th. So I guess it's July 30th. So that I had always thought she was in California when Senator Dianne Feinstein got this letter. And I wonder why then? I do. I wonder why is it that she gets this, Senator Dianne Feinstein gets this letter at a time when she's clear across the other, on the other side of the country. I don't know. I mean, it's just, because I never thought that. I didn't. I had always thought she met with a shoe. They decided to because of what she told her, that they decided to put it into a letter, and then they decided after talking for an hour and a half, this was my understanding, that they needed to bring this to the next level. So they typed up the letter, and she hand-delivered it to Senator Dianne Feinstein. But that's July 6th. So, but it was, you know, it wasn't until July 30th when she's out of town, all the way on the other side of the country. It seems odd to me, you know. The other thing I do have little bit, and it's just an observation, is that her demeanor in this picture, I'm telling you, it just jumps right out at me. It just does. And obviously when she's testifying in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, in front of the entire world is watching, you're going to be scared. Absolutely. I'm just saying, though, her demeanor here is much different, and it should be, but it's still, this picture grabs me. It just does. Her composure in this particular, it's just my opinion, man. So, yeah. And you know what? I think that's pretty much the extent of what I'm here to tell you about, I'm sure there's other stuff. I may add it on if I think of it. Because there's lots, man. There's lots. We'll see. In my opinion, after this FBI investigation, partly because of the way people are treating the story, including Democratic senators. In my opinion, they fear that they're backpedaling and they're looking to sort of wind this down. Because I don't know that these different versions and all this, when you get in front of federal investigators, is going to be quite as friendly. All right, man. That's the end of this video. That's the story there. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below, and I will see you in the next video. Later, man.